And we're back with more of our exclusive sit-down with Secretary of State Marco Rubio as the ongoing conflict in Iran remains top of mind for the American people.
I don't think the Iranian regime has ever faced a president like President Trump, which is someone that actually takes action. You know, they got used to for 20 or 30 years, not just the U.S., but the broader world, allowing them to get away with things like lying, breaking deals, tricking people into agreements and so forth. In this particular case, they're pretty straightforward. Iran wants a nuclear weapon, and they were building a conventional missile shield they were going to hide behind. In essence, they wanted to be in a position a year and a half from now to be able to say, we have so many drones and so many missiles, you can't possibly defend against them. That's the place they wanted to get to. President Trump said, I'm not going to let you get to that place. And he went after, wiped out their Navy, wiped out their Air Force, wiped out their missile defenses, wiped out their launchers, wiped out their factories that make all of these things, and severely degraded their defense capabilities. Now, they still have missiles and they still have drones and they can still do damage, but they no longer have that shield, that conventional shield that they could hide behind. And that's changed the whole dynamic. It's the only reason why they are now willing, and in some cases seem eager, to do a deal on denuclearization, to do a deal on the Straits, because we're now approaching them from a position of strength, not from a position of weakness, which is what they perceived from previous administrations and, frankly, from the world writ large.
The regime change has never been the goal, though. As you say, it has been denuclearization. Can you have one without the other, though?
I think the regime has to change. You may not have a regime change, but the regime has to change. The Iranian regime traditionally has been expeditionary. In essence, their view is they don't want to just govern Iran, they want to govern the region. They want to export their revolution. That does have to change. And the only way you're going to change that is if you make the price of it too high for them to be able to pay.
The fact that so many of these Gulf Arab nations have all kind of aligned against Iran, that must be important.
I would say two things about the Middle East and the Gulf Kingdom. I think they always understood who Iran was and the threat they posed. That threat has now become reality. They have now seen Iranian drones and Iranian missiles launched into their cities and against their energy infrastructure. The other thing that's changed is I think you're going to see more and more energy diversifying outside of the Straits of Hormuz. Because from a geographic standpoint, Iran will always be on the Straits, whether they're governed by this regime or a future government. But that's going to be two permanent features that are going to emerge from this. You're going to see the realignment of how energy flows, less reliant on the Straits of Hormuz, and you're going to see countries in the region that are no longer now understand that Iran is no longer a theoretical threat. As long as this clerical regime remains in place, they are a real threat, and a direct threat to not just their economic interests, but their security interests.
Well, President Trump says he is going to confront Vladimir Putin regarding reports that Russia helped Iran target U.S. bases. How much does that relationship concern you?
With Russia?
Between Russia and Iran.
Look, unfortunately, I think you'll find in the world that there are countries, or at least companies within countries, that work with adversaries of ours. And when we identify it, we raise it, and in some cases very successfully. Nothing we have wanted to do in the Middle East, none of the actions we've taken, none of our successes have in any way been impeded by anything that any other country in the world did against us. There are things that might be irritants, there are things that might be concerning, but there is nothing any other country is doing that in any way is standing in the way of us achieving the things we want to achieve or the objectives we want.
Just to finish with the situation in Russia and Ukraine, is there anything at this point that the U.S. can realistically do to help bring talks together, bring this to an end?
The president has made very clear the United States can play a role in bringing about an end to that war. We're going to continue to explore it. We spent a lot of time on it in the first year. There came a point where it got to like a stalemate, but we always stood willing and ready to play a constructive role. We're the only country in the world, and President Trump's the only leader in the world that can bring the Russian side and the Ukrainian side to begin to talk about how you end it. The reality is that dynamics have changed just a little bit in that conflict over the last few months. The Ukrainians now are able to conduct long-range strikes deep into Russia, bringing the war to the Russian people. What we are willing to explore is whether that new dynamic has in any way opened the door to some negotiated settlement. I know you're going to see some efforts over the next few weeks to see if we can't restart talks between the two sides and bring this war to an end. But we also understand that both sides have some pretty strong red lines, and until we can bring those red lines a little closer together, we're not going to be there yet. But we're ready to go, and the president's told his team, if you see an opportunity to be a force that brings about some momentum behind peace talks, let's do it. So he always prefers diplomacy over war and peace over combat.
Americans have seen so many versions of you, I think. We know Senator Rubio, we know candidate Rubio, now Secretary Rubio. Have you changed throughout the course of all of these different kind of phases of your life? And how do you think the American people's perception of you has changed? Because you are memes everywhere. I think everybody loves to see all the different sides of you.
Well, the meme thing, was interesting because when it first came out, I hated that picture, because what happened is in that couch, if you don't have a pillow behind your back, you kind of sink. So I looked at the pictures, oh, this is terrible. I looked, like whatever. And then it turned into this other thing, and it was fine and it's funny. I don't really follow it very closely, but people have shown me pictures out there. We have a good friend here that works at the White House, Dan Scavino, made a nice board for me. And even since he made that board, we had to update it, so of all the different pictures. So that stuff is funny. You asked me if you've changed. I think everybody, you go through life, right? And as you go through life, you learn new things. You see things you hadn't seen before. You hear things you haven't heard before. Certainly, I'm a different person at 55 than I was at 25 or even 35 because I have 20 and 30 years of experience in between in life and in work that inform that. I think at your core, you always want to remain the same person, though, right? And that is, what are your priorities in life and what are the values that sort of drive you to do what you do? And I hope that hasn't changed. And by the way, the world changes too. There are things that are true today that weren't true 10 years ago. So, I think that's true for all of us, not just me.
I feel like you've been busier than ever. You've been traveling all over the place, but you're doing all of that while being a husband, while being a father. Maybe talk about how that is, because I know for every kind of working parent out there, working spouse, it's hard to take time, but I'm sure your family keeps you very grounded.
It is, and I'm in an interesting season in life. For most of my time in public service, I had very young children or children that were still growing up. Now all 4 of my children are adults. My youngest graduated high school this year. I have a 26-year-old, a 24-year-old, a 21-year-old, and an 18-year-old. So they have lives. They don't just have, when you're 15 or 16, you have opinions. When you get to 20, 24, 26, you have lives and you have stuff going on. I still look back at the times that they were young and wish I could have one more day with them when they were little, but you also appreciate the moment you live in. And then as far as being a husband, I think what's happened is because your kids are a little older and they have more time doing their own things, whether they're school or career, you spend more time with you almost like get back to where you were when you first started dating in some ways. So you get to spend more time with my wife and sort of rediscover. So it's the second phase of that relationship, I guess, after all these years. So it's an interesting season in life that I think we're mixing with what we're doing here now and find it pretty fulfilling and pretty happy.
Well, when you go home, I'm curious, what is the first thing you do when Marco Rubio gets home? Do you sleep? What happens?
No, not when I get home. I go right to sleep. Of course not. It's usually if you can, you really can't in this job, and you certainly can't working for this administration and this president who never stops working. But I think it is good to try to disconnect for some period of time and from your job or from your work. It could be watching a sporting event. It could be watching a movie, but just anything that allows you to sort of disconnect and play the reset button. It's harder. It was a lot easier to do that when you're a senator. It's much harder when you're in this role and in this job because the world isn't going to stop and wait for you. Like you may have made a plan tonight to watch a movie, but in the middle of that movie, something blows up somewhere in the world and you got to know about it and you may have to do something about it. So it's harder, but it's not forever and it's fulfilling to be in that role.
So if you could get a full week off without having anyone access you, what would you do?
If I had a full week off, I'd be wondering what was going on. I'm being honest, and maybe that'll change when I'm out of this job. But if I could make the world stop for a minute and have nothing going on, I'd love to well, my wife's gonna hate this answer, but I'd love to sit down and watch every college football game starting at noon Eastern until when the West Coast games end at 2 a.m. our time Eastern. I'd love to be able to do that at least one weekend. I doubt I'll be able to do that anytime soon.
Okay, final question. Is this gonna be the Miami Dolphins season? What do we think?
No, they're in massive rebuilding mode, but I think the needle's pointing in the right direction, but they need a couple years to rebuild that roster.
Okay, we're always looking to future seasons.
Yeah, that's right.
Secretary Marco Rubio, you are great. Thanks for all you do for our country, and thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Be sure to like and subscribe for all the Fox News latest on YouTube, and catch full shows streaming now on Fox One.